not a game, it's a rich thing.
Portugal was the worst, and the best in Europe, or amongst the best. And the United States is crushing everybody. It looks like the Olympics. Like, we're crushing the rest of the world. Unfortunately, this is for drug-induced deaths per million population. Extrapolate that data, we would save 70,000 lives. Drug overdose rates would drop by 97%. Our HIV rates would drop by 99.9% if you use this data from Portugal. The consequences of the war on drugs. This is how we're treating human beings in the Philippines. What was ironic was my Uber driver was from the Philippines, and I was talking about this President Duterte and his rules and everything, and so he was, I think, on board with the drug war. And this is, I don't know, man. Like, this is crazy here.
It looks like a concentration camp. I mean,
so it is a concentration camp, and I don't understand the difference between modern day prison systems and concentration camps. Like, when I look them up in the dictionary, this is what that is. And, horrible conditions, spreading disease, and all of them are going to use drugs, whether you make them legal or illegal. So even in these prison facilities, they're able to get their drugs still. So
yeah.
Even in the SHU, the most, Pelican Bay, all these places, these guys are able to get whatever they want in. They're able to run criminal empires from isolation, like in isolation, in solitary confinement. So it's not working. It just makes it worse. This is the president. And he said that Hitler massacred 3 million Jews. There's 3 million drug addicts in the Philippines. I'd be happy to slaughter him. And he is, routinely. He's going through and he's murdering people that he's sick. All he has to do is say drug addict. And then they can just murder him.
It's chilling that someone that's a president right now of a country says something like that. And if so, for some reason, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a misconception of what like people are and what criminals versus, what just a person that's hurting is.
This dude's a power tripping egomaniac, and he just runs around and he just murders people. He's murdered 30,000 people in this drug war. And I thought Mexico was bad, but
yeah, isn't it execution there in Philippines? I'm totally guessing. I have no idea, but I'm wondering. I don't know. Like if you get caught with drugs, like it's actually a penalty of death or something like that.
Yeah, there and Thailand, I believe, as well.
Jeez, man.
Thailand. So I knew some Marines when I was enlisted that got some drugs from a prostitute, and then they beheaded her while there in Cobra Gold in 2003. And,
wow.
Or maybe it was 2004 or 5, something like that. But yeah, that was really going down, and I did some research on it, and sure enough, like, yeah, the time that I was there in Thailand matches up with their oppressive policies.
Holy shit.
Keep in mind, this is what happens when you make it illegal.
Yeah.
No change. So our thesis is that the war on drugs is a war on the climate. So I'm going to continue to push through this research. Here's the way that we could go is completely legalize it. It would disrupt the cartels. It would eliminate their profits. And I don't know if cartel is synonymous or the same thing as the CIA. But let's be real. Like, there's definitely plenty of, like, did you see the Sicario movie?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just openly shoving it in our face that the cartels work hand in hand with the CIA.
Oh, they've already been caught putting crack in the streets in the 90s. I mean, that was a year that broke open, and it wasn't like the CIA in general as a whole, But I think there was like criminal elements of the departments, you know.
It just breeds corruption. Like, look, you ever watched the Pedro series on Netflix?
I haven't watched that yet. No.
So he's just running around corrupting everybody in
Yeah.
the country. Shocking, but you want to Chapo any of these guys, they're not going to have any power if there's no money to be made. That's why that's one of the best reasons, compelling reasons behind legalization. However, is everybody really ready for complete legalization? I don't know. Maybe decriminalization is better in Portugal and their strategy. So the harm reduction facilities that I was telling you about, which I'll go into more, is these places can be funded if you make it legal and then you tax it. So, and it's not without precedent. In the before Henry Kissinger made it illegal, they did tax it. They did sell it. They did prescribe it. All these drugs that were, illegal, they used to be sold and taxed. They could pay for their drugs. The amount of money that we're spending incarcerating everybody, if that's going to go down by 90%, you can use some of that windfall of money towards paying for their rehabilitation.
Yeah, it could also create jobs for, psychologists, treatment, counselors.
By the end of this presentation, there's so many jobs that could get created. All those guys that were in charge of incarcerating everybody and imprisoning them, they could go out and befriend them. And you still go after crimes, like real crimes, like murder and rape and things like that, but you avoid the drug problem. And then we're actually persecuting drugs, which, my research delves into a lot of that. It's good because there is a lot of data coming out of Portugal, that the 99% numbers are pretty compelling. In 2017, the U.S. had 185 million deaths, and Portugal had 6 million.
185 million overdose deaths?
No, this is 185 per million.
Per million. Oh, so per million. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, that's a lot of people.
I feel like I would have heard about that, bro.
Yeah, I was like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's holy crap. That's still a lot of people, man.
And keep in mind, Portugal had the worst problem in Spain. Policy 3, states decide. Kind of been a dope fuck since they legalized weed. Some states are profiting off of it. Some of them are. The reason the states are kind of doing their own thing right now is because the federal government doesn't want to come through and say, hey, weed's fine. It's good to go. But why? Why is marijuana the worst drug known to man? Why is that above heroin, crack, methamphetamine? Why is it so bad? Yet, the age-old argument of tobacco and alcohol being legal. What would you rather have your kid addicted to? Marijuana, tobacco, or alcohol?
I don't know.
Both completely legal on one side, and the other one is the worst of the worst. And what Henry Kissinger said on the Senate floor to make it illegal was that it would make the black man think he's on the level of the white man. It would make white women want to fornicate with black men, and it would make Mexicans run around like crazed people and just start murdering all the white people.
Damn.
This was the compelling argument that the senators heard to make drugs illegal. This is what they needed to hear. It's not about whether or not it's good or about public health or anything like that. It was because of that. And what do you think the real reason was? Who was lobbying for drugs to be illegal?
I'm pretty sure the people involved in paper industry, people involved. I mean, it's a huge plethora of things that hemp was a big industry. They used to call hemp $1 billion crop.
I do not have words to adequately express the horror I feel at what the drug war has done to this country. I'm Ann Lee, 88-year-old Republican activist who, with my husband, we founded RAMP, which is Republicans Against Marijuana Prohibition. We became interested in marijuana when our son Richard had an accident that put him in a wheelchair as a paraplegic, and spasms were a problem. And he got out of the hospital and looked at us and said, Mom and Dad, marijuana is good for me. We certainly did not want to hear him tell us that marijuana was good for him because it flew in the face of everything that we believed at that time. After a lot of prayer and research, we realized that we had fallen for the propaganda that the government had put out about marijuana.